The day Chloe and Julian publicly declared their love, the system deemed my mission a failure and stripped me of all my emotions. From then on, I no longer felt the sting of betrayal, living a life of carefree ease. Yet, when she saw me painting for someone else, her eyes brimmed with tears. She snatched the brush, crying and questioning. "You said you only loved me. How can you not love me anymore?" But I just frowned, not understanding why she was crying. When Chloe and Julian officially announced their engagement, the system judged my pursuit a failure. A sharp pain shot through me, and I collapsed, staring intently at the live broadcast on television. Chloe was presenting an award to Julian. On stage, they embraced, held hands, and then Julian smiled as he answered reporters' questions. Under the spotlights, the two looked exceptionally well-matched. A reporter playfully asked Chloe if she had been waiting all these years for Julian to win this award. The Davis family, with its generations of artistic heritage, required anyone marrying in to possess comparable talent. And the award Julian received today was just enough to grant him entry into the Davis family. Chloe gently took Julian's arm. It wasn't waiting, it was progressing hand in hand. Our relationship, like the painting pursuit, is of blatant, fervent devotion. With or without this award, I would still love him. The media erupted. Julian looked at her, moved. Though Chloe claimed reputation didn't matter, this was the first time she had publicly acknowledged him. Prominent families always valued suitable matches. After all, Julian didn't have my original family background. The painting appeared on the screen behind them. My gaze involuntarily shifted to it. Its surreal realism, its profound and delicate emotions. It was the best piece I had ever painted in my life. It was also the only piece I had begged her not to take away. Ever since Julian's hand had been injured, anything he wanted, Chloe would grant him if he shed a few tears. It said, "Chloe, if I get this piece, I can win the award. Then I'll be worthy of you. And Chloe, after I win the award, I won't need him to paint anymore. To prevent the world from finding out, you'll help me, right?" Chloe had faced me for a long moment, then sighed. "Ethan, this is what you owe him." And so my right hand was crippled, and I was imprisoned in the mansion. The world only knew that the Walker family had fallen, and Ethan had retired from the art world 3 years ago due to a crippled hand, while Julian was the dark horse who had emerged in those 3 years. Now he had gained fame and fortune with my work and could marry into the Davis family. How ridiculous! I tried to smirk in front of the screen, then gave up, my face stiff. "System, I'm sorry I failed." The system was silent for a moment, then said, "It's all right, but as agreed, I must take something from you." I gave a bitter smile, accepting the reality. A bet. Go ahead." On stage, Julian knelt on one knee, proposing to Chloe in front of the media. In the camera's view, Chloe, who had always doted on him, seemed stunned. I didn't hear her answer because the system said, "I am taking all your emotions after they're gone. You will never feel pain again." That sounded good. Once all emotions were extracted, it was irreversible. I would never again feel joy, sorrow, anger, or happiness in this life. As the separation progressed, flashes of memories flickered before my eyes. The Walker and Davis families were old friends, and Chloe and I had grown up together. Loving her was almost an instinct that grew with time. But I don't know when it started. The person who was always by my side had a new companion, a young man named Julian. He had no family background, no connections, not even a foundation in painting, but he was very handsome. And when he looked at Chloe with tear-filled eyes, helpless, he was particularly pitiable. He said he wanted to learn to paint. Chloe casually gave him the painting tools I had given her years ago. He said he wanted to study under a famous master. Chloe asked me for a piece of my work, stamped his seal on it, and sought a master for him. Whenever I asked, she would only say, "His life is so pitiful, Ethan. These things are trivial for us. Just help him." Helping him like this, the two grew closer and closer. Chloe, who had been pampered since childhood, followed him to the most run-down food streets, overjoyed by a $2 flower, feeling free from being caught in the rain. She told me that only Julian was truly good to her, that only with him could she feel alive. Time and time again, I watched her receding back. Time and time again, I vented my surging emotions onto the canvas. Pursuit began to take shape. Then, with every time she abandoned me, another stroke was added to the canvas. Until finally, the accumulation of colors and heartache became Julian's stepping stone. How ridiculous! Originally, I wouldn't have ended up so wretched. But then an accident happened. Julian injured his hand, saving us. From that day on, I became the sinner who forever owed him. She said, "Ethan, you owe him for the rest of your life. What right do you, a person like you, have to remain in the art world?" So from that day on, the outside world only knew that Ethan had injured his hand in an accident. A young man named Julian, with a painting style similar to Ethan's, rose to prominence. Under the excruciating pain of emotional extraction, I asked in a trembling voice, "System, do you think I paid him back?" The system was silent. Even its cold, mechanical voice seemed to carry a hint of unbearable pity. "Ethan, you don't owe anyone anything. Is that so?" But they clearly said it was all my fault. Tears streamed down my face uncontrollably. I could feel something leaving my body. My vision went black, and I fainted on the floor. When I woke up, the first thing I saw was Chloe pushing the door open. She was arm in arm with Julian, her expression somewhat displeased as she looked at me. "Ethan, can you stop playing this low blood sugar game whenever you feel like it? It's very childish." Her tone was cold, but I felt no sadness at all. I paid her no mind, somewhat dazed, and touched my chest. The stone that had been weighing down my heart was gone, and I actually felt much more comfortable. "Ethan," I proposed to Chloe. "You know, I've loved her for many years. I really couldn't help myself." His voice grew softer, sounding exceptionally humble. "Hadn't been critical, I wouldn't have ruined my hands. Did I ask you to save me?" I retorted. Julian was taken aback for a moment, then retreated a little unnaturally, looking aggrievedly at Chloe. "Chloe, Ethan seems to resent me." His eyes were keen, his emotions genuine. But to me, it was just a blank. So much so that I didn't understand why Chloe got so angry seeing him like that. "Ethan, someone saved your life. Even if you're not grateful, at least have some conscience. Don't repay kindness with ingratitude." I remembered this person gaining fame and fortune with my works. How had I repaid kindness with ingratitude? I looked at her blankly, my eyes showing no emotional fluctuation. In the past, at times like this, I would have painfully asked her what more she wanted me to do, what else I had to give him. But today, I just looked at her calmly until she was the first to look away. I thought for a moment, then said, "Aren't you the ones repaying kindness with ingratitude, taking advantage, and then playing the victim? Back then, it was your Davis family who begged me to pick you up. After the car accident, help was on the way. He insisted on smashing the car window with his hands to save you. What does that have to do with me? Guilt tripping me and using me as a stepping stone. No matter how you look at it, aren't you the ones repaying kindness with ingratitude?" "Ethan," you amidst their embarrassed and angry gazes. I calmly pulled the covers over myself and lay down in bed, utterly unmoved. No love, no hate felt good. My reaction was beyond their expectations. They looked at me unyielding in bed. Chloe said with a hint of anger, "So this is how you think of me? You don't want to see me that much? Anyway, Julian doesn't need you anymore. If you really don't want to see us, then get out." "Ethan, did you hear me? If you keep making trouble, I won't want you anymore. Your hand is crippled now. You'd better think carefully about what to do. Unless you apologize to Julian now." The old me seemed terrified of her saying she didn't want me. After the Walker family fell, she became my only spiritual support. The huge blow and guilt made it impossible for me to leave her. But now, I quickly poked my head out from under the covers. "Leave. Okay." After saying that without any lingering attachment, I pushed past them, packed my things, and prepared to leave. There seemed to be sounds of an argument behind me, but I didn't look back. I took my wallet and cards and walked straight out the door. "Wait a minute." The system suddenly spoke. I stopped at the mansion gate. A vase fell from above, smashing to pieces in front of me. I looked up. It was Julian and Chloe. "Ethan, I'm sorry. I couldn't stop her. It was Chloe. So, she hated me this much. Ethan, you can leave today, but I'm telling you, if you dare go out and spread rumors. I watched quietly and replied, boring. I called a ride-sharing service on my phone and walked down the hill from the mansion. No one chased after me. Good. The autumn air was crisp and clear, but memories kept surfacing in my mind. During the two most passionate years of Chloe and Julian's relationship, they faced complete opposition from her family. Relying on our family's long-standing friendship, Chloe's grandfather, lying in his hospital bed, took my hand and earnestly pleaded, Ethan, I've watched you two grow up. You know Chloe has talent in our Davis family line. She's the only direct descendant. Help me bring her back, will you? The man I called Grandpa, his eyes red in his final moments, begged me. I couldn't refuse. I drove to find her. I found her in a cheap shared rental apartment. She had given up her family business to promote art in such impoverished places. She had been too sheltered, believing the world was full of pitiful people like Julian, who had dreams but no means to achieve them. Art was worthless in such places. If not for the free eggs given out during the promotion, not a single person would have listened. Everyone, look, this painting is from when I first started. As long as you work hard. She received no respect. Teacher, how much is this painting worth? It's not even as good as my grandson's. Oh my God, is that person naked? Ha! In such a scene, she looked aggrievedly at Julian beside her. After receiving his encouragement, she took a deep breath and continued her explanation until I squeezed into the small room, my face dark, and dragged her back. Anger made me punch Julian to the ground when he tried to stop me, and I shoved Chloe into the car. Your grandfather is on his last breath. Are you still going to fool around with him in a place like this? We had known each other for years, yet she shouted at me. What do you understand? I'm promoting art. Art shouldn't just belong to the upper class. Everyone has the right to own it. She felt incredibly righteous, hitting and screaming as I forcibly took her away. I locked the car doors, afraid her grandfather wouldn't make it, and sped up onto the highway. But in the rearview mirror, Julian was chasing us in a van. Stop! Stop! I want to go back with him. Grandpa always tricks me. I'm not falling for it. You stop. Seeing her resistance was futile. She started grabbing my steering wheel. The car swerved left and right on the highway until I couldn't break free, and she suddenly pushed me. The whole car collided with an oncoming vehicle. With a bang, the immense impact knocked me unconscious instantly. When I woke up, Julian was already outside the car, banging on the window. The car was locked and wouldn't open. Chloe was crying, pleading for help from Julian through the window. I endured the severe pain, wanting to comfort her, but she pushed me back into my seat. It's all your fault. If you hadn't forcibly taken me away, how could this have happened? We're going to die here. We won't. I carefully reassured her. My phone received a message from the butler. The family knew about the accident the moment it happened, and rescue was on its way. At that moment, Julian suddenly clenched his fists and smashed them against the glass. Punch after punch, his knuckles bled and cracks appeared on the hard glass. And Chloe, under his barrage of blows, sobbed uncontrollably. Even then, I sensed that I might never be able to win against Julian. He didn't break the glass. In the end, rescuers arrived and got us out. None of us were seriously injured, but his hands were fractured, and he would never be able to hold a paintbrush again in his life. It's all because of you, Ethan. Do you know how hard Julian worked? How much he wanted to be a painter? Was it because of my greed, my selfish desires, that everything became irreparable? So, as compensation, I agreed to their terms. I would withdraw from the art world, and all my works would bear Julian's name. Later, the Walker family fell, and I was completely homeless. Coupled with their increasing demand for my works, I was imprisoned in a suburban mansion until pursuit was discovered. For the first time, I begged Chloe to let me keep this painting. But instead, the tendons in my hand were severed, my right hand crippled, and I could no longer hold a brush. Ethan, you're truly pathetic. My heart said this, yet there was no ripple of emotion. Don't always mock your past self. He had a hard time, too. Thankfully, it was emotions that were taken. You've had a blessing in disguise. Ethan, I have to leave now. I hope that you, without the 7 emotions and 6 desires, can find true love. The system disappeared, but I didn't quite understand. True love? What was that? Mr. Walker, are you the one who called for a ride? A car suddenly stopped beside me. The window rolled down, revealing a young female driver with a ponytail. Yes, that's me. I got in the car. She asked where I wanted to go. I hesitated for a moment, glanced at the words Old Town written on a sign in the car, and said, "To the Old Town. Help me find a bed and breakfast to stop at." What a coincidence. My family runs a B&B. I'm just driving for my dad for a day. I never expected to get a fare from this mansion area. I hear everyone living here is a multimillionaire. Sir, what do you do? She talked a lot, probably because I had no emotions. I didn't even feel annoyed. I just listened quietly as she chatted on. Her name was Annabelle, and the B&B was called Annabelle's Courtyard. After getting out of the car, she enthusiastically led me inside. The courtyard was surrounded by abundant flowering plants, looking vibrant, colorful, and elegant. I stayed there. The money in my card was enough for me to live in such a courtyard for a lifetime. Annabelle helped me buy all the daily necessities and show me around the neighborhood. Aunt Lisa, this is my tenant. Isn't he better looking than anyone on TV? Grandpa Wong look handsome, right? This is my new tenant. In less than half a day, everyone in the historic district knew I was her family's new tenant. I bought painting supplies again. In my leisure time, I tried painting with my left hand in the courtyard. It wasn't as good as with my right hand. The old Ethan would never have accepted this level of skill, but the current me couldn't even feel anger. Every painting of mine was pestered by Annabelle to be framed and hung in the corridors and stairwells of the B&B. She said she could tell at a glance I was an artist and was just taking a little advantage of me, telling me not to mind. I didn't know what mind meant, but she seemed to quickly discover my difference. I was often bullied, but I seemed to have no feelings. The neighborhood kids would occasionally snatch the painting tool from my doorway, making faces at me because I didn't get angry or pursue it. Some even came into the yard and rummaged through my things. Whenever this happened, she would grab the broom in the yard and chase after them. "All right, you're bullying me now, are you? You dare bully my people?" She would chase them down and get my things back, calling me a blockhead for my expressionless face. She would place freshly made sweet soup at my door, and if she found out I'd been cheated, she'd take me to demand justice. Occasionally, she'd help me bring in my laundry, following me around all day. The way she looked at me was strange. People around would often say, "Annabelle's done for. Her soul's been completely captivated." She would blush, look at me, and then laughingly shoo those people away. I didn't know if this was what the system called true love, but Chloe's true love, Julian, found me first. He stood for a long time by the works hung on the B&B wall. When he saw me, he said tentatively, "Anyone can become a painter these days. What's hung on this wall isn't even a tenth as good as yours. Ethan, don't you agree?" I didn't speak, just shook my head at an indignant Annabelle. She huffed at Julian and went inside. The B&B wasn't large. He looked around the courtyard with disdain, then handed me a gold-embossed invitation. "Ethan, Chloe, and I are getting engaged. This is the engagement invitation. I hope you can come and be a witness for us. After all, you grew up together as childhood sweethearts, and you were even engaged to Chloe once. It's best to clarify the relationship at the engagement party, don't you think, Ethan?" I nodded lightly. "All right." Seeing my calm tone and lack of reaction, he frowned with some dissatisfaction. "Ethan, Master Dubosi saw a pursuit and accepted me as his formal disciple. I have you to thank for that." His smile was provocative, but I remained calm. "It's nothing. If your conscience bothers you, just remember to send me some money." He was taken aback. "Ethan, are you living in such hardship now? No wonder you moved here. The Walker family used to be one of the top families. And you?" He seemed to be trying to provoke me from various angles, but I just found him talkative, more talkative than Annabelle. If I still had my emotions, I would have, like countless times before, run to hit him and angrily curse. "You've already taken my fame and fortune, and my hand is crippled now. I don't owe you anything. What more do you want?" Then when Chloe appeared, he would wipe his tears, recall the past kindness, and I would be branded as ungrateful. Thinking about it now, Not having emotions at least saved me this trouble. I accepted the invitation and added, "I'll go. Remember to arrange a car to pick me up." 3 days later, a car indeed came to pick me up. Annabelle angrily held my hand, saying, "Maybe you shouldn't go. How can there be such bad people in this world?" The day Julian came, she had heard our entire conversation. When I mentioned being taken to the hospital and having the tendons in my hand severed, she was so angry that she slammed the table, overturning it. But I didn't understand what there was to be angry about. I should still go. I didn't care about the main characters of the wedding, but going for a free meal, especially with special little cakes, was appealing. When I arrived, there were already many people there. When Chloe saw me, she froze for a moment, then quickly regained her composure. "Ethan, I didn't think you'd come." She wore a white gown, her gaze complex. "Julian said to have me as a witness, and there's money involved. I need to get the wedding invitation at the engagement party." She bit her lip, a hint of anger in her eyes. I must have been mistaken. I thought her expression was filled with something like pain. How strange. Hadn't they agreed on my fee? People around looked over, their gazes excited and pitying. I could hear them whispering. They seemed to be waiting for me to elope with the bride. But why would I do that? I didn't care about her. Or rather, I didn't care about anyone. Julian came over smiling and began the proceedings with Chloe. A melodious violin piece played in the air. The moment the two stood on stage, someone suddenly rushed towards them. The action on stage seemed to slow down. Amidst the chaos, Julian saw the glint of a knife in the attacker's hand and instinctively pushed Chloe in front of him. I was very close. Although I had no emotions, the instinct to protect her, developed over many years, made me rush forward at the critical moment and kick the person in the chest. The person was kicked to the ground, and bodyguards quickly subdued him. Chloe looked at me, her eyes trembling. I thought she probably remembered. When we were children and were kidnapped, someone rushed at us with a knife, and I had stood firmly in front of her. Julian, who had come up again, helped her up. Her eyes were filled with an unstoppable disappointment, her gaze following me. I paused for a moment, then thought of going back down. The cake earlier was quite good. I get a couple more. The person pinned to the ground, however, said, "Julian, how could you forget me after you made it big? If I hadn't gathered information on Miss Davis for you back then, you would never have gotten close to her in your life." Julian suddenly went berserk, shouting, "Shut up. Utter nonsense. Get him out of here quickly." Wait, it was Chloe. She looked at Julian with a stern expression, as if trying to discern something from his face. "You just pushed me." Her disappointed tone made Julian quickly explain, "No, listen to me, Chloe. Listen to me. I love you. I was just too scared." "Ha! Love? What the hell do you love, Julian? Wasn't the car accident involving Miss Davis and that man because you had me cut the brakes while he was upstairs? What are you pretending for? Now that you're doing so well, you want to dump me and even hired someone to kill me? I'm telling you, impossible. Even if I go to jail, I'm taking you with me." Julian clutched his hair, screaming in breakdown, "Shut up! Shut up!" The people below were watching the spectacle. No one was competing with me for the small cakes. I hesitated for a second, deciding to bring two back for Annabelle. The man was taken away, and even Julian was escorted away by Davis family members, still shouting about love as he left. These people were truly strange. Chloe, after all, was the heir to the foremost family. She quickly took control of the situation and then walked over to me. She seemed a bit awkward, opened her mouth, and finally said, "Thank you, but why did you save me?" I don't know. Maybe it was instinct. I was speaking the truth, but I didn't know why. Her eyes instantly widened. You don't hate me." I shook my head as if trying to discern the truth in my words. Her eyes, full of emotion, met my cold ones, and she froze on the spot. After a long pause, she asked, "Ethan, isn't there anything you want to ask me?" I thought for a moment and sincerely asked her, "When will you give me your wedding invitation? How much money will I get for being a witness?" Her eyes trembled violently, as if the cognitive tower she had built since the world began had instantly collapsed. She looked at me in disbelief, pain radiating from her. I just looked at her quietly, hearing her remain silent for a long time. I took 2 small cakes and left. I returned to the B&B. Annabelle was very happy to receive the cakes, but soon she became furious again because of Chloe's arrival. The first thing she did when she saw Chloe was turn to me and ask, "Is she that bad woman who fell for someone else and then severed the tendons in your hand?" Chloe looked embarrassed, but I nodded. "Ethan, you found out your new love was just a con artist, and now you want to go back on your word, right?" Annabelle was spot on, saving me the trouble of speaking. Chloe's face, however, grew increasingly ugly. She looked at me with a hint of forbearance and reluctance. Seeing my indifference, she then said coldly to Annabelle, "This is between Ethan and me. Could you please leave us for a moment, miss?" I thought if the two of them started arguing, it would be very troublesome. So, I found an excuse and sent Annabelle away. The moonlight was bright, and the air was filled with the rich fragrance of lilac. She looked at my expressionless face. Her eyes touched, and tears actually fell. "Ethan, it's fake. Everything about Julian is fake. He lied to me. He neither likes art nor loves me. He only loved my status, the future I could give him." She cried inconsolably, but I stood there unmoved. "Oh, is there anything else?" She had been crying for a long time. Annabelle's sweet soup should be ready by now. She probably wasn't used to my current tone. She tugged at the corner of my sleeve, wanting to bury herself in my arms as she used to, but she didn't expect me to take 2 steps back, leaving her frozen in place. "Ethan, are you not forgiving me? Do you hate me?" I shook my head. Joy sparked in her eyes. "Then, do you still like me?" I just looked at her blankly, my eyes probably clearer than the moonlight. "No hate and no love." "Ethan, what's wrong with you? Didn't you used to want me to love you? I'll come back now. Why don't you love me anymore?" Love? Unfortunately, I no longer needed it. After she left that day, she simply rented the courtyard next door and came to find me day after day, making Annabelle so angry that she put up a sign at the entrance that read, "Those with ill intentions and ungrateful hearts are not welcome." She seemed to have gotten used to my indifference towards her, just following me around all day, watching me paint with my left hand, watching me wander around with my paintings. She hired excellent doctors for me, not only to check my hand, but also insisting on checking my brain. I refused treatment for both my hand and my brain. Painting with my left hand was fine. I didn't want to feel pain again. Occasionally, when Annabelle wasn't around, she would sit next to me and talk about the past. "Do you remember? You used to try every means to get me to spend less time with Julian, even going abroad to photograph my favorite French artist's works, just to exchange for one day of my time. While I fought with my family over Julian and was grounded, you climbed up to the 3rd floor from outside and threw food into my window. When you were 20, the Walker family fell to give me a gift. You worked as a waiter in a restaurant for 3 months. I coldly interrupted. "I remember these things, Miss Davis. You really talk a lot. You're disturbing my painting." Her eyes held a subtle pain. She looked at me unwillingly, but hesitated to speak. I added, "Back then you said I did these things because I always loved you. So now that I don't want to do anything for you, it probably means I don't love you anymore." Her face turned pale, and she shook her head in disbelief, as if unable to accept my words. "Impossible. You wouldn't stop loving me. You said you would love me for your whole life. You just haven't forgiven me yet. Yes, that must be it. It's all Julian's fault. It was him who came between us." She left for a while, and soon the media reported that the rising star of the art world, Julian, had been sentenced to prison for plagiarizing others' works. The Davis family was the foremost family, manipulating media opinion, and that rising star quickly became a pariah. I felt neither joy nor sorrow, holding a paintbrush in my left hand, painting Annabelle, who was asleep in a chair. She wore no jewelry, a tie-dye dress, and her slightly curly long hair. Yet, there was something about her that particularly attracted me, a vitality. Even without emotions, being with her was more comfortable than with others. As I was painting, my brush was suddenly snatched away. "Ethan, what are you doing? How can you paint for her? You said you would only paint for me, one woman your whole life." I looked at her calmly, like looking at stagnant water. "Ethan, you said you would always love me. You can't stop loving me. I've already dealt with Julian. Can we get married?" "Married? What's good about that?" "No, you ungrateful bad woman. Go away. Annabelle woke up and immediately stood in front of me, confronting Chloe with extraordinary determination. "Who do you think you are? How dare you stand in my way?" Chloe waved her hand for people to take me away. I didn't want them to fight, so I simply went with them voluntarily. It was the same wherever I lived. But looking at Annabelle standing at the B&B entrance, my empty heart felt a strange sensation. For a moment, I thought if I had emotions, I would probably fall in love with her. But I didn't, so it was best not to hold her back. Chloe began to spend long periods with me. She announced to everyone that we would hold our wedding in half a month. I didn't object. I just asked her, "But you know, I probably don't love you now." She tried again to bring up the past to prove that I loved her, which gave me a headache. All right, I know. I was taken back to the Davis family estate. If she married me, I would become, besides her, the second legal heir to all the Davis family's assets. Besides her, many people were restless. When I saw Olivia, I felt she had ill intentions. So, this is my future brother-in-law. I heard that brother-in-law and sister were childhood sweethearts, separated by an interloper, and are only now back on the right track. I didn't answer. Chloe had spread many versions to the outside world. In every version, I was hopelessly in love. The world says brother-in-law is the greatest romantic and that you and sister have finally found happiness after much hardship. But why do I feel like you don't actually like my sister? She lowered her voice, leaning very close to me. Brother-in-law, you need to think clearly. Whether it's true love or fake love, once you enter the Davis family, there's no turning back in this life. You can't wander around with your easel painting in the old town anymore. And you'll never meet a girl like Annabelle again. Her eyes sparkled as she asked me, "So, brother-in-law, are you truly willing to stay here?" It sounded like that, and I didn't want to marry her anyway. On the eve of the wedding, Olivia arranged for people to help me escape. She said she had picked an interesting place for me and told me to go with them without worry. It wasn't until I got off the plane that I discovered the place she had chosen for me was a small lemon island in the Pacific. The island was bustling with tourists, and lemon trees laden with fruit were everywhere. I tried hard to feel the joy that the people around me seemed to experience. What a pity. Apart from a stiff smile, I couldn't feel anything until a mascot dressed as a lemon took my hand. Meeting those eyes, my empty heart trembled. "You dear dense man, do you want to paint lemons?" It was Annabelle. I remember the gift Olivia said she had prepared for me. Perhaps it was her. I stayed with her on the island for a long time, but in the end, I sent her back to the country. "Annabelle, you're wonderful, but you should be able to see that I can't love anyone." Annabelle stood at the B&B entrance, tears in her eyes. Yet, she still managed to smile as she looked at me and said, "I know you, dense man. You're too slow. You might never learn to love anyone in this life, but it's okay. We'll always be friends." She said, if I ever got tired, I could always come back. She, in the courtyard, would always be there. Later, I went to Europe. I passed through every small country, then embarked on new journeys. Europe, Italy, Milan, the Arctic. I didn't know where my next stop would be. But in any case, I didn't want to stop. Just like that, walking and painting, I used my left hand to paint naive landscapes, slung them on my back, and set off on new adventures. No love, only the distant horizon. Chloe's epilogue. I've loved two men in my life. Ethan, my childhood sweetheart, and Julian, with whom I engaged in a deceptive charade. When I met Julian, I never imagined someone could live so arduously and still love art. Apart from his background, he seemed like a lover perfectly prepared for me by God. He could understand what I wanted from a single expression. As the heir to the Davis family, I was raised with strict demands and criticism. He was different. He gave me unique encouragement and support. Plus, during that accident, his desperate attempt to save me, even at the cost of his hands, made me feel at that moment that I could never abandon him in this life. But facts proved that if someone appears in your life as the most perfect guy, they must have prepared it in advance. It was all fake. All of it was fake. His love for me, his noble character, his resilience, all were feigned. He only loved my title and the power it brought him. And for him, I let Ethan down countless times. I always knew he liked me. I could tell at a glance that his pursuit was a blatant declaration of love painted for me. But I chose to ignore it. I needed someone to take responsibility for that accident and my injuries so I could righteously ignore that love and use him. I wronged him. By the time I realized that the one I had always loved, the one who consistently chose gentle support, was never Julian, but him, it was too late. He didn't love me anymore, or rather, he was no longer capable of loving anyone. As if his emotions had been taken away, he became indifferent to everything about me. Even when I apologized to him and announced our marriage, I actually knew Olivia had met him and I knew about his escape. But I didn't stop it because Annabelle said I had ruined him. I had destroyed his ability to love, making him incapable of loving anyone for the rest of his life. So, I had no right to take away the rest of his life. She was right. So, I watched him board the plane from behind. I don't know how to atone for the mistakes I've made, nor do I have the right to appear before him again, so I chose to watch. I know he went to one place after another. I know he's always on the road. If one day he wants to turn back, I hope he can see me. If not love, then hate is fine too. As long as he still remembers me, as long as he doesn't look at me with that indifferent gaze. If we meet again, I won't say, "Ethan, I love you." I will tell him, "Ethan,